it's two different worlds. We talked earlier about traditional versus accelerated, and that is where you guys will forever be more prepared than any accelerated officer. So, an accelerated program is basically phase 1 for 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
There's no real mentoring. Not always. There's going to be the outliers. Some people got up and had a really good tack and they mentored as they went. But for the most part, people I've talked with is it's like, nope, we were phase 1 from day 1 to the last day.
Yep.
And then they came home, and now they got thrown in front of a platoon. No one ever taught them how to write a memo. Truthfully, no one taught them about 30, 60, 90, 120s. No one told them how to, write a draw. Like, we talked to guys that all they ever did was pen and paper that stuff. Like, they're writing memos on the next to last day to request to graduate on a memorandum they wrote by hand. Well, you don't learn how to format it in Microsoft Word or whatever your document, whatever you're going to use. You don't. That's just stuff you don't learn at Accelerate. So traditional is by far the way to go. Much more now, so I guess that it's an 8-month program for just about everyone. Because now, obviously, you're giving less time before you become a leader. Which that's what everybody wants. I want the rank fast. I can get paid fast. But if you show up and you can't do the job, you're just as shitty as the LT that we're all laughing at before you went to OCS.
You're the private of the officers. Congratulations. Like, what am I supposed to do with this person? But and again, we interviewed kids who went to accelerated, all the way up at South Dakota, and like when we were telling her the things that we did, we were like, yeah, this is what we had to do, and she was like, what? Yeah, we had to submit memos. Like, if we didn't have the memo, like if we wanted coffee, we had to submit a memo. And like, she goes, well, we had people who knew how to do memos, but they hand jammed it on a piece of paper,
right?
And you're just like, wow. And then like we also had to plan our drills out. Like, we'd have to communicate with each other as a class, and again, the way you described it, exactly what she said. She goes, we just lived at the mercy of the cadre. We went to bed at the time they told us to go to bed, and if we wanted to submit a memo, we'd have to submit it on a piece of paper, and they just say no, it's not formatted right, whatever. It's like, but again, it's just a piece of paper. So you're just like, both are chaotic, both are crazy. But again, I think you're correct, is in the fact that the learning how to do the memos and the draws and stuff like that put us loads ahead of these other kids, unless somebody hands them a document that shows them this is a draw.
But y'all are planning events, right? Y'all didn't do because we didn't have it anymore. When we went through, we had to do the Veterans Center event, which was, everyone knows where the Veterans Center is, down in Norman Moore area, right? And it's the hospital. And so we had to go down there and interview people for like 4 months. We would take, we'd had to ask who wants to be interviewed. We would take this old veteran and interview them and learn their military history, and then put on a presentation for their family at this big, big event. It usually happened about January. That was kind of our moment that's our aha moment. Like, oh, we can operate as a team. You come out feeling really good. But you had to plan that. You got to request those resources. You got to plan with families and make sure timelines fit. And how are we going to transport us? How are we going to transport them? Think about it. If you're at one of those accelerated schools, you don't worry about how you're getting. You just get on the bus, right? You guys have now had to request all these assets and request a training area. You got to go look at that training area. I'm going to tell a story about D.C. So this weekend I went to D.C. for the inauguration. Obviously, it all moved inside, so I didn't get to go in anywhere. So we ended up watching on TV like everyone else. But we were in D.C. We got to go do this cool stuff. But we went to a ball, one of the inaugural balls, and it was the worst event I've ever been to in my life. It was terrible. Our friends and us, we bought tickets to be at this VIP event, and there was a free event, and someone forgot to put the door checker out. There was just no one there to do that. So all the free people went into the VIP people, and like, we had food provided, they didn't. We had tables set at, they didn't. Well, now all that's just taken. We ended up just leaving, going to a steakhouse, and then going back, and we had great, very, very awesome conversation with the friends that we went with instead. But, we were there to network and meet new people and all that. But my very first thought was, these people have obviously never been to something like OCS, because they did a terrible job at planning this event from top to bottom. It was just a broken event. We know how to do that now because you've had to plan these training exercises. You know that, like, hopefully they at least pretended while you were there. Like, if you don't order water, request water for your 12-mile ruck march, you're going to be very thirsty. You know what I mean? Or imagine being able to make it because you don't have water to refill your canteens, or whatever. So there's just certain things you have to do as a leader, and I think that event planning is a big part of it that you guys have gotten to, and I did as well, got from OCS.
Yeah, I mean, planning the dine-in was a perfect example of that right there. I mean, that was a lofty goal. It's like, you have to, and then as you do it, like, we need transport so we can go over there and set up, and then we find out the rules that the cadre have that they don't tell us that they have. They go, oh yeah, one of us has to be with you at all times. And you're like, oh. he's like, I left something back in the thing, so all of you have to pile back in this van, and we can't set up anymore because you have to come with me, so I have to get this item or whatever I need, and then we all come back together. And you're just like, crap, this sucks. Like, you have so many, rules put down on you, and you have to be with the cadre member at all time because, again, they're responsible for you if something were to happen. So it's just wild, that people don't seem to think about those type of things, but we have to because of the stipulations that the Army puts on us. Yeah. So,
and you'll be a lot better leaders now because of that. I just think that traditional route is the route especially if you're a National Guardsman. Because you don't have time to get trained. You're going to be a lieutenant 24 times before they promote you and move you to XO. You know what I mean?
Unless you're already XO like me.
Right. But you're gonna be a platoon leader approximately 24 times. I'm gonna show up and see my guys. I'm gonna say hi 24 times, and then I'm gonna move on to something else. You can't get anything done. There's no time to train you. So if you showed up from Accelerated and you have no idea what you're doing, you've only got 24 times, and now you're expected to go on and be something bigger.
And that's kind of the experience that I had showing up to my unit for the first time. Was I ran a range. And the two guys who were there were Accelerated, and they both went at the exact same time. And I looked at them because, like, I had never run a range before at this point. I was like, all right, guys, so what do we do? And they just kind of looked at me like, I don't know. We've only ever done this once. And I was like, great. So then I was basically running the range by myself.
But you knew how to look in a standard. You knew how to look in the book. There's always an easy book, right? Almost always. There's an SOP. So, yeah, but you know that stuff now, right? And you can think, hopefully they taught you, and I say hopefully they, because I was there for half of y'all's class, so hopefully I gave you that skill while I was there to critically think and check all the boxes, right?
Well, absolutely. And then we had the gumption to just be looking around on, the internet for resources, and that's when we came across your Sergeant Chamberlain schoolhouse, OCS schoolhouse, and that was, like, I mean, I can't tell you, when I went to Phase 3, they were like, you can't bring any of your own materials with you, and then, like, so me and Chad just, like, went home and, like, well, now that we're here, we can, so, like, we just ride out and hand jam our own things, and I can't tell you how many times we had to be RTOs for people because they'd see our handwriting or because I like the what do you call it, the shell, like you had your shell but you had marker and stuff, and you could smear so easily. So I was like, screw that, I'm just gonna write it inside my waterproof notebook, and then people would see my notebook, dude, you're my RTO because I can read your handwriting. And I was like, crap, So now I'm gonna be RTO for a lot of people now. So, and not because I was particularly good at being RTO, but because there's like, I like your handwriting, and if I miss something on my stupid shell, I know that you'll have it written down very well. And I was like, I guess, so
that YouTube was fun to make, and I need to, I keep promising myself I'll get back after it, but I'm, trying to do some stuff with football, and I'm a consultant for football coaches, so
sure.
And it's just passing on the same knowledge, to be honest with y'all. It's just Army OCS land and football world, right? But I need to turn it into like an NCO's schoolhouse too, and just teach people how to be NCOs, because there's a lot of them that, same thing, they go to a 2-week school and maybe 1 month if they're, ALC I think was 1 month, but it's just not it's not long. No one ever teaches you how to be a leader. It's just you're expected to know, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's kind of it's just like being an officer where you show up, it's like, oh, you're in charge now. It's like, oh, cool, you'd be surprised how many people just have no idea what they're doing. They're just doing the best they can in their positions, and that's the way it is, I think, with everything in life. It's like if you ask Jeff Bezos or even Elon Musk, like, how do you know what you're doing well? It's like, I don't know, I'm just doing it. I'm more than likely what they tell you. It's like, like OCS, I remember you saying this all the time. It's like, make a decision. It's like, doesn't matter if it's the wrong one, just make a decision. You can't just stand there with your hands like, oh, I don't know.
We had a classmate that locked up on an X one day. Just we were going through a training lane, and we got there, and it was a sticky situation. You got bad guys over here, bad guys over here, bad guys in front of you. What are you gonna do? And he literally stood up, was like, just kill me. I don't know. I was like, what? Like, but that's the inability to make a decision, right? It's just paralyzation through that inability. And you're right. If someone will make a choice, make a decision, I can correct and make you make better decisions. I can't correct when you do nothing. Like that's I can't guide you and mentor you, make a better leader out of you if you do nothing.
Absolutely. But is there any other OCS land or advice or being attacked? Anything else you want to?
Yeah, number one. So if you are any kind of a leader at all, try to do that broadening assignment. Try to get to your local OCS, whether that's here in Oklahoma, whatever state you're in. It was my favorite job I've ever had in the military, by far. I've been a platoon leader before. I've been a platoon sergeant several times. I've led convoys overseas, in every country that we've been to. I've done all those things, and they're all fun, rewarding in some ways. But that was by far the most rewarding, is just knowing you're directly taking the way you do things, the way you see the world, my extreme ownership. Like, I'm a big Jocko guy. Taking those things and passing it on to the next generation of leaders. Because if you don't go do it, someone else will. And I don't know if they're more qualified than you, right? So by all means, get into developing the next group of leaders. And with that, quit hoarding all the good soldiers in the NCO ranks. We've got to. So since my entire time in the Guard, we either didn't have lieutenants or we were mocking the ones we did have, right? Like, you're just laughing at them because they're so bad at their job. They're terrible leaders. They're terrible at what they do. They can't pass PT. They're narcissists. They're this, they're that, right? So it's like we have all these really bad leaders and we laugh at them, but no one ever goes, that's the guy that's leading me into combat. He's my boss. And instead of fixing him, I'm laughing at him. And maybe he's not fixable. And that's not, you don't always get that choice. But why am I holding on to this really good E5 or really good E6 when I could send them to OCS and let them go fix the problem by addition, right? We're going to add good soldiers to that side to kind of remedy this plague of bad leadership. It's just a very weird. Even in the National Guard, we don't know how to operate with PLs because they're so few and far between. Outside of infantry, I'm sure you guys fit your roles and they understand what your roles are. But everywhere else, the platoon sergeant's, he's platoon daddy. He's the leader, right? First sergeants talk to the commander. First sergeant tells platoon sergeants, here's what got to get done, and we make the plans and go operate, right? Like, execute. To where that's not right. It's supposed to be the lieutenant's side, right? It's supposed to be the officer side of the house doing that work, but we don't know how to use them because we have them. Once again, we either don't have them or they're so bad you can't rely on them. So we just do everything ourselves. But send good soldiers to OCS.
Yep.
Make them go through it because you're going to help their career. They're going to get paid more. Being a gold bar is just the beginning. Like, next thing, they're a company commander and they're solving a lot of people's problems because they can critically think and logically think. And then they're in a battalion and then they're a brigade. Like, they, you know what I mean? Like, solve the problem by addition. Give them those good soldiers.
Yeah, and I'll say this too from a perspective of an NCO who I was at. It was we made really good friends with Kansas because we did all the joint stuff with them.
Course.
And but one of my buddies named Macias was there, and he was like an E6 or an E7, and he was like, at phase 3, we were together. He goes, man, I had no idea what officers went through in order to become officers. He goes, like, I feel bad for for just the ribbings that we did on them back in the day at being an NCO because this is brutal, man. Like, it's crazy. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty crazy, but it's always interesting hearing it from the NCO's perspective too, because it's just, they're used to being they understand what the Army's like, but it's such it's like you say, it's like OCS is such a shocking schoolhouse for people because it's just so brutal and different from any other school. And but I guess before we sign off here, do you have any general life advice or dad advice that you would give to the people watching to just give them something to say before we close out here?
No, I guess I'll just make mention of, there's 2 quotes that I really, really love, and my wife, if she's listening now, she'll laugh at me, but one is just the extreme ownership thing in life, and that is, if you haven't read Jocko's book, I'll tell you what it means, or what it says. It says that everything's your fault. That's what the whole book says. Everything is your fault, and even when it's not your fault, it's your fault, and the quicker that you will draw a line from the thing that went wrong to you, the quicker you'll start problem solving those things in the future. And so I live in that world. I teach everyone that I speak to about that. Like, everything is your fault. Fix it before it becomes anyone else's fault. And then I'm trying to develop this culture, like in my platoon, at schools that I coach at. If you have that culture of ownership where we're all trying to solve problems instead of walking by trash on the ground and be like, the next guy will get it. All right, no, pick the trash up. It's your fault. It's your fault that it's there. Even if you didn't throw it down, as soon as you walk past, it's now your fault that trash is on the ground. So if you apply that to everything in life, I think we'll all be in a little bit better world. And then the other one is a quote that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. And I think that is, there's time and place for both. But I think we all know that we want to go far in whatever we're doing. If it's your hobby, if it's your job, your business, if it is your military career, whatever, sure, you can be the superstar and you can show out and run away from everybody else. But pretty soon you're by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll put a stop to whatever it is you're trying to do, which may be what my career was, right? I was on that fast track ahead of all my peers. It may be exactly what it was. I went fast by myself. I didn't go far with everyone, right? So find a team, build your village, whatever that looks like. My friends and my wife and I, we all joke about like building a compound somewhere and just living in a group, because that's our life team, right? I mean, we're doing everything together. It's business advice. It's, hey, can you watch the kids this weekend? It's celebrating each other's successes and being there when we hit our downfalls. And so build your village, build your tribe, and go conquer life that way, because it's going to be a lot better.
I like it. I don't think I could end it any better way. So thanks for joining us today, Sergeant. We appreciate your time, and I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate the advice and the OCS tips that they can get from this. But that's about all we've got for you today. This is the Twins with the Grand Oakheim cast. Thanks for watching, and God bless you.
See you later, everybody.
All right.